The sky was dark with smoke, and the ruins of the colony stretched out like broken bones. Once this had been a living city where humans had built homes, schools, and gardens. Now, fire and ash ruled the land. The war between humanity and the alien Tyrell Dominion had left nothing untouched. Lieutenant Marcus Hale moved carefully through the shattered streets. His armor was heavy with dust, and every step crunched over glass and stone. He had been a soldier for years, but no matter how many battles he fought, the silence after destruction always unsettled him. He held his rifle close, eyes scanning every corner. The Tyrell were clever fighters, tall, scaled beings with sharp eyes and advanced weapons. They could move through the ruins like shadows. Many humans feared them, but Marcus had fought them long enough to know they feared humans too. A distant sound broke the silence. It was not the crack of a rifle or the thunder of an explosion. It was softer, like a whimper. Marcus froze. Slowly, he turned toward the sound. His instincts told him to ignore it, to keep moving, but his heart told him otherwise. He stepped carefully through a broken doorway into what had once been a school. The walls were burned, the floors scattered with debris. Again he heard the sound, this time clearer. It was the cry of a child. Marcus lowered his weapon and followed the sound into a corner. There, hidden beneath a broken desk, was a small figure. His breath caught in his throat. The child was not human. Its skin was pale blue with faint silver, patterns running across the arms. Its eyes were wide and luminous like liquid metal shining in the darkness. This was a Tyrell child, the enemy. The child looked terrified, clutching a piece of cloth. For a moment both stared at each other, human soldier and alien child. Marcus knew he should walk away. The rules of war were clear. This was the enemy's offspring, and saving it could bring him into danger. But when the child gave a small sob, something inside Marcus broke. He slowly lowered himself to one knee, placing his rifle on the ground. He raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "It's all right," he said softly, though he knew the child would not understand human words. Still, tone mattered more than language. The child blinked and curled tighter into itself. But it did not run. Before Marcus could move closer, a sharp sound ripped through the air, the hiss of plasma fire. His instincts screamed. He spun around just as bright bolts of energy tore through the walls. A squad of Tyrell soldiers had spotted him. The child gave a terrified cry. Without thinking, Marcus dove forward. He covered the alien child with his own body, pressing the small figure against his chest as plasma bolts rained down. His armor lit up with sparks as the shot struck. Pain tore through him where the armor failed to block the heat. Marcus gritted his teeth but did not move. He could feel the child shaking under him, small hands clutching at his armor. The Tyrell soldiers kept firing until Marcus rolled them both behind a slab of concrete. He gasped for air, his chest burning. The child looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. More footsteps echoed in the street. Marcus knew he could not hold the position long. He had to move. With a grimace, he picked up the child and staggered toward the broken school doors. Plasma bolts followed him, some striking the walls and sending shards of debris flying. Marcus shielded the child as best as he could, every step heavy with pain. At last he reached a collapsed stairwell and ducked behind it. The enemy fire slowed, and the soldiers began shouting in their strange language. Marcus pressed his back against the wall, clutching the child close. Blood dripped from a wound in his side, and his armor was scorched. He knew he had minutes before his strength gave out. Yet looking at the child, he found new resolve. The small Tyrell looked up at him again, eyes full of confusion. Then slowly it reached out and touched his hand. The gesture was simple, but it pierced Marcus's heart. "You'll be fine," he whispered. "I'll get you out." Outside, the sound of approaching engines grew louder. Human reinforcements. Marcus felt relief, but also fear. What would his own people do if they saw him holding the enemy's child? Moments later, armored humans entered the ruins, rifles raised. They spotted Marcus and rushed to his side. "Lieutenant Hale," one shouted. "We thought you were dead." Marcus tried to stand, still holding the child. "Found someone," he managed to say. The soldiers froze when they saw the alien child in his arms. Their expressions shifted, from shock to anger to disbelief. "What is that doing with you?" one demanded. "Sir, put it down. Now." Marcus shook his head. "No, it's just a child. It doesn't deserve this." The other soldier clenched his jaw. "It's the enemy's blood. They kill ours, we kill theirs. That's war." But Marcus stood firm. He adjusted the child in his arms and straightened his back, despite the pain tearing through his body. "Not today," he said firmly. For a long moment, no one moved. The tension was heavy in the ruined air. Then, slowly, the other soldiers lowered their rifles. None of them wanted to be the one to fire on a child, even if it was alien. Marcus's vision blurred as exhaustion took hold. His knees gave way and he fell, still holding the child tightly. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was the small face looking down at him, eyes full of something he had never expected: trust. When Marcus opened his eyes again, he was not in the human camp. The ceiling above him was strange, made of metal curved into organic shapes. A faint hum filled the air. His wounds were wrapped in glowing bandages unlike any human medicine. His heart raced. This was no human field tent. And then he saw her. A tall figure stood near the bed, her scales gleaming under the light. Her eyes were sharp, glowing faintly like the child's. Armor marked with rank symbols covered her shoulders. It was a Tyrell commander, and in her arms, safe and unharmed, was the child he had protected. Marcus tried to sit up, but pain held him down. The commander stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "You are the one," she said in accented but clear human language. Her voice carried both strength and curiosity. "The one who shielded my child with your body." Marcus's breath caught. He realized who she was. This was no ordinary soldier. This was the child's mother, and by saving the young one, he had brought himself into the hands of the enemy in a way no bullet or blade ever could. The world around Marcus felt heavy, as if he were trapped in a dream. His body ached with every breath, but his mind slowly cleared. The strange room he had woken in was dim, the walls curved and smooth like the inside of a living shell. The air was warmer than he was used to, carrying a faint scent of herbs and metal. He tried to move, but his side burned in sharp pain. Glancing down, he saw glowing bands of light wrapped around his wounds. They pulsed gently, sending warmth into his flesh. It was alien healing technology, far beyond anything human medicine could do on a battlefield. Marcus blinked, trying to gather his thoughts. The last memory he had was collapsing in the ruins, holding the alien child close. Human soldiers had been there, but somehow he had ended up here among the enemy. And then he remembered the woman. Slowly, his eyes moved to the figure standing near the doorway. She was tall, her body covered in scales of dark green and silver that shimmered under the lights. Her armor was ceremonial, not the rough gear of a foot soldier. Her presence radiated authority, but her eyes were fixed on him with something deeper than authority. They burned with questions. At her side, clutching her hand, was the child he had shielded with his own body. The little one's eyes lit up when it saw Marcus awake. It let go of its mother's hand and hurried forward, standing near the human's bed. Marcus blinked, unsure if he should reach out. He could see the fear in the woman's face, the way her muscles tensed as if she expected him to harm her child, but he only lifted his hand weakly and managed a small smile. The child tilted its head, then touched his hand gently, just as it had done before. The woman stepped closer now, her voice deep but steady. "You are the human soldier, the one who risked himself for my blood." Marcus struggled to sit up, but the pain made him wince. Still, he met her gaze. "Yes, the child was in danger. I couldn't let it die." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" The question was sharp, almost like an accusation. Marcus swallowed hard. How could he explain something so simple yet so impossible for enemies to understand? "Because it's a child," he said finally, his voice rough. "War or not, children don't deserve to suffer for our battles." The room fell silent. The woman stared at him for a long time, her expression unreadable. The child climbed onto the edge of Marcus's bed, as if to prove his words true. After what felt like an eternity, the woman spoke again. "I am Commander Soraya of the Tyrell Dominion. That child is my son, Kalen. By saving him, you have changed much more than you know." Marcus frowned. He had expected gratitude, or perhaps threats, but not words so heavy. "Changed? What?" Soraya folded her arms, her sharp eyes studying him. "Among the Tyrell, blood debt is sacred. If one saves the life of another's bloodline, that life is forever tied to the Savior. You did not only protect my son, you bound yourself to him and to me. By our law, your life now belongs to my house." Marcus's stomach twisted. Bound? To her house? He was a human soldier, sworn to his people, not some alien's protector. "I didn't do it for law or tradition. I did it because it was right," he said firmly. Soraya tilted her head slightly as if weighing his words. "Perhaps, but our laws do not bend. And now, you stand in a place no human has ever stood. You are neither prisoner nor free. You are claimed." Her words echoed in his mind. Claimed. The idea unsettled him, yet he saw no hatred in her tone, only certainty. Before he could speak, the door slid open, and 2 Tyrell guards entered. They bowed to Soraya, ignoring Marcus entirely. Their language was harsh and quick, but Marcus caught fragments, words like enemy, human, and orders. Soraya raised her hand, silencing them. Then she turned back to Marcus. "There are those among my people who would see you dead. To them you are still the enemy, but my son clings to you and I cannot ignore what you have done. So I will protect you. For now." Marcus let out a slow breath. His side still throbbed, his body weak. He had no strength to resist, no choice but to accept her words. "And my people?" he asked quietly. Soraya's gaze sharpened. "Your soldiers want you returned. They call you hero. But I refused. I told them your life is bound here. You are not theirs to take." Marcus's heart pounded. His fellow soldiers must be furious, perhaps even planning a rescue. Yet here he was, caught in an alien camp, guarded but not chained, alive but not free. The child, Kalen, leaned against his arm, looking up at him with trust. Marcus sighed. "So, I'm stuck between worlds." Soraya's lips curved slightly, though not into a smile. "Yes, between worlds." Days passed and Marcus slowly recovered. The alien healers tended to him with strange glowing tools and bitter-tasting drinks that burned his throat, but mended his flesh. He was watched constantly by Tyrell guards, yet none dared harm him. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with hatred. Kalen visited him every day, bringing small gifts, pieces of crystal, flowers that glowed faintly in the dark, or carved stones shaped into animals. Marcus had never expected to bond with an alien child, yet he found himself teaching Kalen little games, simple tricks with his hands, and even a few human words. "Light," Marcus said one morning, pointing at the glowing crystal the child held. "Light," Kalen repeated, his strange voice echoing softly. Soraya often stood at a distance watching them. Her sharp gaze never left Marcus, as if she was trying to solve a puzzle. Sometimes Marcus caught a flicker of something softer in her eyes, something almost like respect. But peace was fragile. Not everyone shared her view. One night, as Marcus rested, a group of Tyrell soldiers entered his chamber without permission. Their faces were cold, their weapons drawn. "You should not be here, human," one of them hissed. "Your kind burns our cities, kills our young. You are filth. You should die." Marcus's heart raced. He had no weapon, no strength to fight. The soldiers stepped closer, raising their blades. Before they could strike, Kalen appeared in the doorway, his small voice crying out. The soldiers froze. Then a sharp command filled the air. Saraya stormed into the room, her presence like thunder. Her eyes blazed as she drew her blade and pointed it at her own soldiers. "Stand down!" The soldiers hesitated, fear flickering in their eyes, but one spat angrily. "Commander, he is the enemy. He will bring ruin to us all." Saraya's voice cut through the air like steel. "He saved my son. By our law, his life is mine to protect. Strike him, and you strike me." Silence filled the chamber. Slowly, the soldiers lowered their weapons, though their eyes burned with hate. With a final bow to Saraya, they retreated. Marcus let out a shaky breath, realizing how close he had come to death. Kalen rushed to his side, clinging to his arm. Saraya sheathed her blade and turned to him. Her voice softened, though it still carried strength. "You see now, human. Your act was not only noble, it was dangerous. You have made enemies among my kind, but you have also bound yourself to me. As long as I live, no one will take your life." Marcus met her gaze, his voice quiet but firm. "I didn't ask for protection. I just did what I thought was right." For the first time, Saraya's expression softened. "And that perhaps is why you are worth protecting." Outside, the war raged on. Battles were fought, lives lost, cities burned. But in the quiet of the Tyrell camp, something unexpected was growing. A human soldier, once seen only as the enemy, now stood at the heart of an alien commander's household. A child who should have feared him now trusted him more than anyone, and a mother who should have despised him now guarded his life with her own authority. Marcus did not know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing with certainty. His blood had been spilled for a child who was not his own, and that single choice had begun to change everything. The camp of the Tyrell Dominion was alive with movement. Soldiers walked in long lines between tents made of strange woven metal, their armor gleaming like polished stone. Fires burned in deep pits, sending sparks into the night sky. The sounds of drills, orders, and alien chants filled the air. Marcus sat near the edge of his assigned quarters, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He had been among the Tyrell for many days now. His wounds had healed enough for him to walk, though his body still felt heavy at times. Guards followed him wherever he went, their eyes sharp with suspicion. To them, he was not a guest, but something between a prisoner and a living puzzle. Kalen, the child he had saved, rarely left his side. The boy clung to him with surprising trust, playing with small stones and shells while Marcus watched silently. Sometimes Marcus found himself laughing at the child's little tricks, forgetting for a moment that they were supposed to be enemies. But Marcus knew the peace was fragile. Whispers followed him everywhere. Soldiers muttered when he passed, some spitting on the ground, others giving him sharp, hateful stares. He understood them. To the Tyrell, he was a human soldier, a symbol of the war that had taken their families. To his own people, he was probably already a traitor, stolen away by the enemy and kept in their camp. He was caught between two worlds, belonging to neither. One evening, Saraya entered his quarters with the authority of a queen. She carried no weapon, yet her presence was enough to silence the guards. Her armor glowed faintly in the firelight, and her eyes locked onto Marcus as if she had already decided something important. "You must come with me," she said. Marcus stood slowly, Kalen tugging at his arm. "Where?" "To the council hall. The time has come to declare what you are to my people." Her words made his stomach twist. "Declare? I'm a soldier, nothing more. I don't belong here." Saraya's eyes narrowed. "You saved my son with your own body. You may think it was a simple act of mercy, but to the Tyrell it was more. Our laws do not ignore such things. Tonight, I will claim you before the council." Marcus frowned. "Claim me?" She stepped closer, her voice low but firm. "By our custom, a life bound in blood debt becomes part of the house it saved. You are already tied to Kalen. That means you are tied to me. You cannot escape it." Marcus shook his head. I didn't risk my life to be tied to anyone. I did it because it was the right thing to do, that's all. Saraya studied him for a moment, her sharp eyes softening just slightly. You may not want the bond, but the bond wants you. Refuse it and you will have no protection here. The soldiers who tried to kill you before, they will try again. And next time even I may not be able to stop them. Marcus looked at Kalen, who held his hand tightly. The boy's eyes were wide, filled with fear that he might be taken away. Marcus sighed deeply. So this is the only way? It is the only way, Saraya said. The council hall was built at the center of the camp, a tall structure of black stone curved into high arches. Fires burned in golden bowls along the walls, casting long shadows across the floor. The hall was filled with Tyrell commanders, their armor polished, their eyes fixed on Marcus as he entered. He felt their stares like daggers. Every step echoed in the silence, and Kalen clung to his side until Saraya motioned for attendants to take him away. The boy resisted, crying out, but Saraya gave him a look that made him fall silent. Marcus stood beside Saraya at the center of the hall. The council leader, an elder Tyrell with deep silver markings across his face, rose to speak. Commander Saraya, the elder said, his voice like stone grinding against stone. You have brought the human before us. Why? Saraya's voice was strong and clear. This man, a soldier of the enemy, shielded my child with his body. He was wounded, saving Kalen from certain death. By our law, his life is bound to my house. I claim him as such. The hall erupted with voices. Some commanders shouted in anger, others in disbelief. A human bound to a Tyrell house? Madness, one cried. He is an enemy. He should be executed, not honored, shouted another. The elder raised his hand, and silence fell again. His sharp eyes turned to Marcus. Human, do you understand what is being said here? Do you accept this bond? Marcus took a breath. His heart pounded. He could feel the weight of 100 alien eyes on him. He knew if he refused, he would be left unprotected, perhaps even killed. But if he accepted, what would his own people think? I don't understand your laws, Marcus said carefully. I'm a soldier of Earth, nothing more. But I know I protected that child because it was right. If your law says that ties me to him, then I won't deny it. Gasps filled the room. Some commanders muttered angrily, but Saraya lifted her head proudly. You see, she said, even the human accepts the truth of the bond. He is under my protection now. No hand shall touch him. The elder studied Marcus for a long moment, then nodded slowly. So be it. But know this, Saraya. The human is your burden now. If he betrays us, his blood will be on your hands. I accept, Saraya said firmly. That night, back in his quarters, Marcus sat in silence. Kalen leaned against him, playing with the edge of his armor. Saraya stood nearby, watching him with unreadable eyes. You did well, she said at last. Marcus let out a bitter laugh. Did I? To your people, I'm still the enemy. To my people, I'm probably a traitor. I don't feel like I did well. Saraya stepped closer, her voice softer now. Perhaps, but you have done what no human has ever done. You stood before our council and did not break. You are no longer just an enemy soldier. You are something else. Marcus looked at her sharply. And what am I? Her gaze held his. You are of my house now. Whether you want it or not, you are part of us. The words struck him deeply. He thought of his unit, of his commanders who might believe he had betrayed them. He thought of the human soldiers who had watched him shield an alien child. Would they ever understand? And yet, when Kalen curled up beside him, falling asleep with trust written across his small face, Marcus felt something stir in his chest. Perhaps Saraya was right. Perhaps he had become something else. Days turned into weeks. Marcus trained lightly under Saraya's watch, learning the ways of the Tyrell. He sparred with their soldiers, earning both their respect and their anger. He joined Kalen on walks through the camp, where whispers followed them like shadows. But danger never left. One evening, as Marcus and Kalen returned from a training field, a blade flashed in the dark. An assassin struck from the shadows, aiming not at Marcus but at Saraya, who had come to meet them. Without thinking, Marcus moved. He shoved Kalen aside and stepped into the path of the blade. The weapon cut deep into his shoulder, hot blood spilling down his arm. With a roar, Saraya struck down the attacker, her blade slicing through the air with deadly force. Marcus fell to his knees, clutching his wound. Saraya rushed to his side, her eyes wide with something he had never seen in her before. Fear. "Why?" she demanded, pressing her hand to his wound. "Why would you take the strike for me?" Marcus winced, forcing a weak smile. "Because no child deserves to lose their mother either." Her eyes widened. For the first time, the great commander of the Tyrell was speechless. That night, as Marcus lay bandaged once again, Saraya stood silently beside him. Kalen clung to Marcus's uninjured arm, refusing to leave. The room was quiet except for the sound of Marcus's breathing. Finally, Saraya spoke. Her voice was low, almost trembling. "You are not like other humans." Marcus turned his head, meeting her gaze. "I'm just human," he said softly. "No," she whispered. "You are more. You are the bridge neither side wanted, but both may need. And for that, I will never let you go." Her words hung in the air like a promise, binding him even tighter to a fate he had never chosen, but one he could no longer deny. The days in the Tyrell camp blended together like pieces of a strange dream. Marcus had stopped counting how long he had been among them. He still woke at times expecting to hear human voices, to smell the oil of Terran rifles, or to see the sharp banners of his own army. But instead he always woke to the sounds of Tyrell chants, the glow of alien fires, and the weight of eyes that never fully trusted him. He was human, yet no longer only human. He was an enemy, yet no longer only an enemy. Kalen followed him everywhere. The child clung to him as if Marcus had always been part of his life. In the mornings, Kalen would pull him out of the tent, showing him little treasures, glowing beetles, crystals that hummed when struck together, or leaves shaped like stars. At night, Kalen curled against him, whispering alien words Marcus was slowly learning. "Star," Marcus said once, pointing upward. Kalen's silver eyes widened with delight. "Star," he echoed. It was simple, but it made Marcus feel like something good still existed in the middle of war. Saraya often watched these moments in silence. She was a commander, strong and commanding in the council, yet in the presence of her son and the strange human who had saved him, she seemed almost gentler. But outside of their tent, whispers grew louder. Some Tyrell soldiers bowed stiffly when Saraya passed, but their eyes burned with suspicion whenever they looked at Marcus. Some called him traitor under their breath. Others muttered that Saraya had gone soft, blinded by gratitude to a human. Marcus knew he was walking on a thin edge. A single mistake could bring ruin not only on himself, but also on the woman and child who had tied their fate to his. One morning, Saraya summoned him to the training grounds. The sun was pale, hidden behind thick clouds, and the air smelled of iron. A circle of soldiers stood waiting, their armor shining like scales in the light. "You will spar today," Saraya said. "My soldiers doubt your worth. Show them why. I allow you to stand among us." Marcus tightened the straps on his chest armor. "You want me to fight them?" She nodded. "Not to kill. To show you are more than a burden." A soldier stepped forward, tall and broad, his scales gleaming bronze. His eyes were sharp with hatred. "I will face the human," he growled. Marcus nodded and raised the wooden practice blade he had been given. He felt the weight of every eye on him, waiting, judging. The duel began. The Tyrell soldier struck first, swinging with heavy strength. Marcus ducked aside, rolling to his feet. He was fast, quicker than most Tyrell, and he used that speed to keep the soldier off balance. Every strike echoed through the air, wood against wood, until Marcus finally slipped past the guard and tapped the soldier's chest. The crowd murmured. Some sounded surprised. Others sounded displeased. The soldier snarled, charging again. Marcus braced himself, blocking the heavy blows, feeling his arms shake with the force. He knew he could not match strength with the Tyrell. Instead, he used his smaller size, slipping through openings, striking quick and light. At last, he twisted behind his opponent and placed the practice blade against the soldier's neck. Silence filled the circle. Saraya raised her hand. Enough. The soldier pulled away, his face dark with shame. Marcus stepped back, breathing hard but standing tall. He looked around at the crowd. Some still glared at him with hatred, but others looked thoughtful. Saraya's eyes met his. For a moment he thought he saw pride there. After the sparring, Saraya invited him to the council chamber once more. Rumors had spread quickly. Rumors that the human fought with skill, that he might be more than just a burden. Your actions stir the camp, Saraya told him as they walked. Some see hope in you, others see betrayal. Marcus shook his head. I didn't ask for any of this. I just wanted to save the child. Saraya's expression softened slightly. And yet here you are, changing more than you realize. Inside the council chamber, voices rose like a storm. He cannot stay, one commander shouted. The human will poison us with his lies. Yet he shields your commander and her child, another said. Would you deny what your own eyes have seen? The arguments went on, heated and sharp. Marcus stood silently at Saraya's side, his jaw tight. He felt like a piece of stone being passed between storms. Finally, Saraya raised her voice, silencing them all. This human has spilled his blood for my son. He has stood before blades meant for me. If he is poison, then I will drink it gladly. If he is betrayal, then I accept it as my own. Her words silenced even the harshest voices. For the first time, Marcus realized just how far Saraya was willing to go for him. She was not simply following tradition. She was making a choice. That night, rumors reached even the human front lines. Scouts had seen Marcus in the Tyrell camp, walking beside Saraya and her son. To the human soldiers, it looked like betrayal. To the alien soldiers, it looked like weakness. Messages were carried through hidden channels. Some humans whispered that Marcus had been brainwashed, others that he had defected. A few, however, spoke quietly, that maybe, just maybe, the story of a human saving an alien child meant something more. Marcus did not hear these rumors directly, but he felt the tension in the air. Guards watched him with sharper eyes. Soldiers whispered louder. And Kalen clung closer to him than ever before. The bond between Marcus and Kalen grew deeper with every day. One evening, as the fires burned low, Kalen brought Marcus a small stone carved into the shape of a bird. For you, the child said in broken human words. Marcus smiled and took it gently. Thank you. Kalen tilted his head. You stay? Marcus hesitated. The simple question struck harder than any blade. Did he stay? Did he belong here? He thought of Earth, of his own people who might already hate him for being among the enemy. He thought of Saraya, of the way she watched him with sharp eyes that sometimes softened when she thought no one was looking. I don't know, he said softly, but I'll protect you. Always. The child's smile was enough to ease his heart, at least for that night, but peace never lasted long in a world of war. One evening, as Saraya prepared for a council meeting, an assassin struck again. A shadow slipped through the camp. Blade, raised high, aimed at her chest. Marcus reacted without thought. He lunged forward, grabbing the blade with his bare hands, blood spilling from the cut. He shoved the assassin back, shouting for guards. The camp erupted into chaos. Guards dragged the assassin away, while healers rushed to bind Marcus's hands. Saraya stood frozen for a moment, staring at him as though seeing him for the first time all over again. You are wounded, she said sharply, kneeling beside him. Marcus gave a tired laugh. Seems to be a habit. Her eyes locked onto his. For once, her voice trembled. Why? Why would you keep doing this? For me, for my son. Why? Marcus's voice was quiet but firm. Because it's the right thing. Because no child should lose their mother. Because no one should lose someone they love if I can stop it. Her breath caught. For the first time, she did not speak as a commander, but as a woman whose heart was shaken. You are human, she whispered. But you carry something my people cannot understand. Compassion. Loyalty without reason. It is dangerous. And it is powerful. She touched his wounded hand gently, her voice low. Perhaps it is what both our people need. A bridge, a reason to stop this endless war. Marcus looked at her, then at Kalen, who stood trembling in the corner. He realized the truth then. He was no longer just a soldier, no longer just human. He was something in between, something new. The next morning, Saraya made a declaration before her council. This human is no longer only human. He is no longer only enemy. He is of my house, bound by blood and by choice. His life is ours, and ours is his. Strike him, and you strike me. Deny him, and you deny me. The camp was thrown into uproar. Some shouted in rage, others in disbelief. But Marcus stood there quietly, Kalen's small hand in his, and Saraya's sharp gaze steady at his side. Between two worlds, he had found himself claimed by both, and rejected by both. But perhaps he thought that was exactly what was needed. The sun rose over the Tyrell camp, pale and hazy, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. Fires from the night still smoked in pits across the ground, and the hum of machinery filled the air with a constant reminder of war. Marcus stood at the edge of the training grounds, Kalen clinging to his side. His armor was polished but scratched from recent sparring, his body still sore from the wounds he had received defending Saraya. He felt the weight of his life pressing on him. No longer was he a simple human soldier. He had become a symbol, a bridge between two worlds that had fought for centuries without understanding. Saraya approached, her steps silent yet commanding. Today the council meets to decide the future, she said. Her voice carried a quiet tension, but also a hope Marcus had learned to recognize. You will speak. Tell them what you believe. Marcus swallowed. Speaking before the Tyrell Council was not like speaking before his own soldiers. These were beings who had never seen humans act beyond strength or strategy. Compassion was foreign to them. Yet he knew he could not stay silent. He owed it to Kalen, to Saraya, and to the truth he had followed since the day he had shielded a child from death. The council hall was packed. Dozens of Tyrell commanders filled the curved benches, their eyes sharp and calculating. Outside, the camp waited, silent, as news of this meeting had spread quickly. Rumors had even reached the human lines, carried by scouts and spies, though Marcus did not know if anyone would believe them. Saraya stood beside him at the center, Kalen sitting quietly at her side. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. Human, the elder of the council said, his silver markings glinting in the dim light. You claim to speak for both your people and ours. Do you truly believe your words can change what centuries of war have not? Marcus met his gaze steadily. I don't claim to speak for all humans, he said clearly. And I don't speak as a commander or a leader. I speak as someone who has seen the cost of war, seen it with my own eyes, and I know that killing does not end it. Protecting life is what makes us human, and I think it can make you, Tyrell as well. A murmur ran through the hall. Some Tyrell whispered angrily, others cautiously. Marcus ignored it and continued. I protected Kalen because he is a child, not because he is Tyrell, not because he is yours, but because he is a life that deserves protection. That choice, it changed me, and it could change us all. I ask you to see what we share, not what divides us, to stop fighting for hatred, and to start fighting for life. For a moment, silence fell over the council. No one moved, no one spoke. Marcus could feel the tension in the room, thick enough to taste. Then, slowly, Saraya stepped forward. Her voice rang clear and strong. This human has risked his life for my son. He has protected me when others would have seen me dead. If his actions do not speak to what we can be, then nothing will. The council erupted into debate. Some shouted that he was a traitor. Some argued that he might bring peace. The noise built, furious and passionate, until the elder raised his hand again. "Enough," he said. The room fell silent. His eyes flicked, from Marcus to Soraya, then back to Marcus. "Human, you speak of peace. You ask us to believe in the value of life beyond war. If your words are true, then we will test them. You will remain with Commander Soraya and her son. You will be bound to her house. But your actions must prove your words, or your life is forfeit." Marcus felt his heart beat faster. The council had accepted the challenge. They had not fully trusted him, but they had given him a chance. That was all he needed. Over the next weeks, Marcus worked tirelessly to prove himself. He trained with Tyrell soldiers, teaching them strategies that combined human ingenuity with alien skill. He learned their language better, understanding nuances and expressions that once seemed impossible. He protected Kalen at every turn, teaching the boy not only human words, but also patience, courage, and the importance of kindness, even in times of fear. Soraya watched quietly, but she was no longer just a commander in his eyes. She had become a partner in understanding, someone who valued his thoughts, listened to his advice, and sometimes even challenged him. The bond between them was no longer just by law. It was built on mutual respect and trust. One evening, as the sun set in a hazy red sky, Kalen tugged Marcus toward the camp walls. "Show them," the child demanded in broken human words. Marcus followed, unsure what the boy meant, until they reached a training field where Tyrell soldiers practiced. Kalen climbed onto a small rock and waved his hands, calling out, "Human, watch!" To Marcus's surprise, Kalen began to demonstrate simple moves he had learned from him. The other children and young Tyrell watched, imitating Marcus's actions. The soldiers stopped, seeing not just training but the bond between human and child. A few of the commanders nodded slowly, recognition dawning in their eyes. Perhaps, Marcus thought, the smallest lives sometimes held the greatest power to change hearts. The real test came sooner than expected. Word arrived that a human strike team had planned to raid the Tyrell camp. Scouts had detected their movements, and the council debated how to respond. Marcus could have joined the defense as a human soldier, but he hesitated. Could he fight against his own people? Soraya approached him quietly. "You do not need to fight them," she said. "But if you act, it must be for life, not for revenge." Marcus nodded. He understood. The time for rhetoric had passed, the time for action had come. When the human team arrived, Marcus met them outside the camp. They had weapons drawn, expecting hostility. Marcus raised his hands. "Stop!" he shouted. "I am Marcus Hale. I am with this camp not to kill, but to protect life. We will not fight unless forced to. Step back, and no one dies today." The leader of the human squad hesitated, disbelief written across his face. "Marcus, is that you?" "I am still human," Marcus replied. "But I have learned something important. Children live. Families live. That is more important than victory. Turn back now." For a long moment, the humans did not move. Then slowly, one by one, they lowered their weapons. No shots were fired. No blood was shed. Marcus felt a heavy weight lift from his chest. The small act of restraint, of mercy, had prevented more death. Afterward, Soraya placed her hand on his shoulder. "You have done what no one else could," she said softly. "You have shown both our peoples the value of life and the strength of compassion. You are more than a soldier. You are a symbol." Marcus looked down at Kalen, who had climbed onto his other side. The child smiled, the silver eyes shining. In that moment, Marcus felt hope, real hope, for the first time in years of war. The council gathered once more. Marcus, Soraya, and Kalen stood together as the elder spoke. "Marcus Hale," he said, "you have proven your words true. You have acted not for glory, not for your own people, but for life itself. You will remain with this house, bound by blood, honor, and choice. Let this be the start of understanding between humans and Tyrell. The hall erupted, but this time not in anger. Some cheered quietly, some clapped in respect. Marcus's heart swelled. A single human act, saving a child, had begun to change the world. That night, Marcus stood on a ridge overlooking the camp. Kalen slept nearby, exhausted from the day's events. Soraya stood beside him, silent. "I never imagined," Marcus said quietly, "that saving a single child could change so much." Soraya's gaze followed the horizon. "It is not the act alone. It is the choice behind it. You acted because it was right. That choice is rare. That choice is humanity." Marcus smiled faintly, "And yet it feels like only the beginning." She nodded. "It is. The war may continue, but the seeds have been planted. Perhaps one day humans and Tyrell will remember this, not as a day of battle, but as a day of hope." Marcus looked down at Kalen, sleeping peacefully, and placed a hand on his small shoulder. "We'll protect each other," he whispered. "No matter what." Soraya stood beside them, placing her hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Then we will move forward, together, human, Tyrell, and child alike. Not as enemies, but as a family, a fragile but real family." The wind carried the sounds of the camp below. Fires burned, voices spoke, and life continued amidst a world torn by war. And for the first time, Marcus felt that humanity, simple, compassionate, brave, was not limited to humans alone. It could reach across worlds, bridging gaps that seemed impossible. He was no longer just Marcus Hale, soldier of Earth. He was protector, teacher, father figure, and symbol of hope. And in that role, he had finally found a purpose worth every scar, every wound, every risk. The future was uncertain, but one truth was clear. When humans chose compassion over hate, life became stronger than war.